Channel. My name is Walina. I am the owner of J&L's Medical Transport here in Columbia, South Carolina. I am bringing you this video today to discuss some of the challenges that I faced with hiring, managing, and terminating employees. I've kind of had my hand in all three areas, and it's not easy in any of those areas, especially in the termination spot. So to get to it, we'll just dive right in. As I've talked to you before, I am the owner of J&L's Medical Transport. I started May 13th of 2020 when I established my LLC. I have been struggling post-pandemic to get back on track, to get the business going. I was a travel nurse, and I did the unthinkable, and I let my business sit while I worked and did my thing. So once I got back to Columbia, South Carolina, I started going serious into my business, our business, and have met various challenges, and I'm just here to show them real talk. So first off, about hiring. So a key story is that before I actually got my first transport, patient transport, I went through 4 other drivers just to get them hired onto the process. I am 100% brokered with Mode of Care at this time, and I am looking to expand that. But at this time, I'm still 100% with Mode of Care, and I'm with a brokerage. Their requirements with Mode of Care for as follows. They must have a background check. The background check is 10 years. So it is a solid 10 years, like 10 years. So if you have a conviction and it's been any less than 10 years, you are 90% not going to get approved. However, after that 10-year mark, depending on what it is, as long as it's not involving drugs or something that was with the federal government or the state Medicaid fraud or any of those type of things, they will approve you as long as it wasn't something like that could potentially harm the patients that we care for or the people that we transport. So that's one thing. Me personally, I'm transparent. I had some issues in my younger year. I was gangster, and you weren't gonna tell me that I wasn't. But you know, hey, that's what I did. 5'2" actually. But anyway, I had an incident that affected me throughout the rest of my career, and even now it affects me. I did get a pardon. I got a pardon through the state of South Carolina, and it was a wonderful day, and I'm so grateful for it. I still am grateful for it. However, even with the pardon that says that I have all my rights restored, everything is great, I was still denied to operate my own vehicle. So that is currently as part of an action plan to come back to Mode of Care. Now, the reason why I'm on an action plan is specifically with the conversation that we're talking about today with hiring, managing, and terminating drivers. They are a critical aspect of your business. Your drivers are what everybody sees from the first moment they get picked up. Your driver is who they see, your van. So it is the utmost importance that your driver shares the same goals as you. You know, it'd be easy for me to sit here and say, you know, oh, you want friendly, courteous, or safe drivers. And yes, you definitely do want those characteristics in someone. However, their customer service skills need to match your customer service skills. Everybody's idea of customer service is not the same. I am a people pleaser, so I go above and beyond to make sure that people are taken care of. That's just who I am as a nurse. But other people, their customer service is, hey, if I waited on you 15 minutes, then hey, I'm out. So you have to really take the time to interview those that are coming across as a potential driver. So how do you find these drivers? This last time around, when I went to started my hiring process, I discovered some wonderful resources. So the obvious, as we all know, is the Indeed trap, the Indeed.com. Indeed is great for what it is. It really is. The downfall to small business, with using Indeed is that there's a cost factor, there's a click factor. And it also takes a little while to set up your account. You need to make sure that you have your LLC information ready. They're going to ask for it when you set up that when you set up your employer account. They're going to ask to upload them. Then you have to wait. Your ad has to meet certain criteria so it doesn't sound like somebody else's ad. So you just have to be careful on your wording, but at the same time, use other people's ads to drive your own ad. I hope you understand what I'm saying. But if you don't, drop a comment. I'll be more than happy to clarify. It's okay. So anyway, Indeed, I found Indeed as a very it provided quick interview candidates, but I didn't really find that all of their candidates were very qualified. Even though we did the pre-screenings and that kind of thing, they answered yes to the questions. When I went to go interview, most of the people that I spoke with was like, oh, I put my resume on there, 6 months ago. This is the first time somebody's called me. And hey, I have no problem with interviewing somebody that they put their interview up, their resume up 6 months ago. However, by that time, they've already found a job. And so they're really only interviewing with me to appease me and to see if there's anything else that's better. They're not necessarily wanting to change their job. That's the experience that I've had. And then you end up wasting valuable time interviewing people and getting to know them and thinking, oh, they're going to be a great match. And then come to find out, they're not really looking. So that is one of the pitfalls of Indeed. Next way that I have found employees has been through ZipRecruiter. And ZipRecruiter was absolutely amazing. I did not think that it was going to be as great as it was, but it really was. ZipRecruiter, still we run into the same thing that people can falsify. They can say that they can pass a drug screen. They can say that they can pass a background check. They say all of those things, but with ZipRecruiter, they actually will match. They have a more intensive matching process to what you as the employer say that you're looking for and what the person that you're looking at their resume, what they're looking for. So I like them because they have a thumbs up and a thumbs down emoji. So if you come across a resume that you like, you just thumbs up it and they start sending you more and more resumes that are of that same nature. Now, of those resumes that I received this last time around, let me tell you, the best candidates that I actually received were those that are those FedEx routes and those that had experience with Uber. Now, I did have a lot of CNA applications. I had a lot of healthcare and veterans that applied also. But as we know, or if you don't know, NEMT is a hard business. You're giving customer service on a constant basis and you're driving. And even though people say, hey, I want to be a driver, my experience so far is that people really want to do, a lot of people, I can't say everyone, but in general, most people want to do the least amount of work and get paid the most. So with that being said, even if you're telling somebody that you're going to be a driver and you say, hey, okay, I'm going to have you go from Columbia to now go to Augusta, Georgia, which is an hour drive, even though that's in their job description, I found a lot of pushback from that, which was discouraging, but hey, that's people. So when I was interviewing for this last time, one thing that I found was that those people that have those FedEx routes that are already used to go, or those Amazon routes, or the or Uber people are amazing because they already have customer service down to a T because of the standards that Uber presents. The FedEx people, it's a toss-up, 50-50. You really have to interview them. Even though they have really great work ethic, their customer service skills not all the time are where they should be. So you would have to decide on whether or not you want to work with that individual to bring their customer service up to par. With that being said, you do have options on hiring. And you're not just trapped into the Indeed trap. And again, I'm not saying that Indeed.com is not a great resource. It really is. It's just a little more difficult to find who you're actually trying to look for. Now, once you find them, they're a gem, but you have to do some digging. Whereas with ZipRecruiter, they just send it. All right. So managing drivers. Woo-wee. Again, this is where your hiring process is most important. You want to make sure that you have hired someone who has the same work ethic as you do. I have hired friends. I have hired people that were close friends, almost family. And then I've also hired like an associate that I knew through friends and knew through other people that I knew. And I can tell you from my experience, it didn't work out. And the reason why it didn't work out was because your friends and your family, even though they know that you have that hustle, you have that goal, you want to be on top, and that you were striving to be successful, it's still not their dream. It's still not their goal. So they know, for me, they know me for, well, Lena, used to be Lena, and Lena was she was something else. So not everybody's going to take you serious as someone who you are interviewing that's from the outside in. Trying to hire that person because you don't have that connection. But I'll give you an example. I hired my first hire. It didn't work out because I didn't understand the business. And I didn't understand that I could put tasks together, like first aid, CPR, put those together, do the same thing with the CTAA and the defensive driving, get it all done at one time. And I could have had her trained in 2 weeks, but because I didn't understand the process, it took me almost a hard worker. We gelled, and she was a friend and a sister within my congregation. So yes, it would have been a good working situation, but that was me on that end because I didn't know what I was doing. So when she left and I lost her, I understood. My second employee that I had is pretty much the same thing, very, very close. She went through the training, she got through everything, but this time it wasn't necessarily me there at getting my contract, but Motive Care was taking their time to get things done. And unfortunately, I lost my insurance, which then I had to wait until the insurance company sent me my check from my deposit in order to restart my insurance. So in that process, my friend got her a job at Amazon, kicking job, and she moved up to a different city and she took off with her life, and again, I can't blame her because, hey, it is what it is. My third employee, my third employee was a recommendation from a friend or a friend of a friend, of an associate. And this particular driver had a well-meaning heart, and I don't want to go into too much detail, but it was very challenging. It was very challenging to work with him because he had limitations that with multitasking. And even though he was a good person and had, and was a kind person, at that point with having the business just starting, I was really looking for somebody that was going to be a go-getter. Hey, let's go run these hours. Let's get this thing up and going. And that's not what he was. And that's not what I promised. When I first hired him, I said, hey, pick a few days and I'll work around it. And because I didn't know the process of how motive care works, it's not like that. It is a full-time job if you're 100% brokered, which I am 100% brokered. But because I had given him those options, it was something that he stood by, which I can respect. So therefore, I had many of calls for motive care on days that he wasn't working. Hey, can you send out the van and, pick up this person, pick up that person. And my response had to be no. And of course, anybody who's contracting you and you tell them no so many times, they're going to kind of get a little irritated with you. I wasn't monitoring receipts initially, and then I had to start monitoring receipts, and then I found out my husband helped me come up with a system to track receipts on the mileage and on gas. So within 3 weeks of being in service, we had to pull the van out of service. And the reason why we had to pull the van out of service is even though it had passed 3 different inspections, the braking system had went down and the front rotors had wore down to nothing. Now, I don't know for a 100% fact, and I don't want to blame anybody, but those brakes were okay, not like magnificent, but I do know that I had them checked out. And when I had them checked out, the representative said, hey, you got a little bit of time on those, but you're going to need to get it fixed. So within 3 weeks, I wouldn't have expected them to have gone out. So again, ride along with your driver and see how they drive your equipment. Because like I said, I can't say for sure that, that the equipment was handled improperly, but I do know that within 3 weeks of putting the van in service, that the brakes went out, and that was an expense that I wasn't ready for. It also affected my contract because I did take the van out of service. Was with being able to track my driver. This particular driver would, I got to be real. This particular driver would sometimes not be available for ride pickups. So if I was in the middle of the clinic and we were having turnover in a dialysis center and I'm trying to get patients off the machine and patients on the machine, and I would set it up with him and I'd be like, hey, okay, during this time I'm going to be during changeover. I need you to stay close to your last stop so that in case I get a phone call, we can pick up this extra ride. And my driver would not do that. He would go home. And that, and had we talked about it, that would have been an okay situation. But it was my gas, it was my vehicle, and it was my time. And so when my driver is going home and then I call and say, hey, you got to ride 5 minutes up the road. And he's like, oh, it's going to take me 15 minutes to get there. And I'm like, hey, where are you? So it's a whole nother topic, but that's where your monitoring system is going to take place. So again, you have to have that good communication with your driver, which that leads into terminating a driver. It is a very difficult process. I chose not to necessarily terminate my driver because, again, he was a friend of an associate that I knew, and there's nothing wrong with this individual. It was just that we just didn't have the same work ethic and the same goals. His goals were different than mine, and my goals as a business owner and an entrepreneur were definitely different. So my decision at that time was to take the vehicle out of service. And I had too many customer service complaints about late pickups and the driver miscommunications, several miscommunications. I had once been called while I was at work with a crying patient on the phone because my driver did not listen to what I had instructed him to do during the dispatching of picking one patient up, dropping them off, and coming back and getting the other one. He had decided to pick one patient up, then go pick another patient up, and then go back and get that patient, and that did not work out. Hear someone crying on the phone, telling me how horrible my service is, and I'm a month in, was very, very hard. So I kept on going for a little bit longer until I had 11 complaints in one day. And answering those complaints, I had to call and say, listen, I have to reestablish things. I can't let my business have such a... And these are literally the same clinics that I service and work in. Imagine working in the dialysis centers and everybody knows me and they're like, oh, Melina, she's got the transportation company. They can't get here on time. And I was like, no. I mean, not that I care what other people think. They don't know the challenges of being an entrepreneur. But at the same time, you do care, and you better care, because this is your business. So I decided to go ahead and take the van out of service. And as a result, when I was talking to the representative over in Motive Care, he was like, hey, this is the second time you guys are taking your vehicle out of service. You're only doing 18 trips a day, and you're only working 3 days a week. And of course, he's like, what do we need you for? And I got it. I understood. And he said, hey, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're not going to terminate your contract, but we are going to put you on an action plan. And that action plan was that I needed to have 2 drivers, not just one, in order to be permitted to go back onto the road, to start my contract back up and start getting paid again. Other drivers. So I went out and I hired 3 drivers, and you'll probably hear this in my story a couple times. I apologize for the repetitiveness, but I did hire 3 drivers, and out of those 3 drivers, only 1 made it. So the moral to the story is, do I feel bad that I took my vehicle out of service? Absolutely not. It was imperative that I took my vehicle out of service, because I did not want the last memories of J&L's to be that it was failing because of anyone other than me. So it was a decision that I made, and I stand by that. I stand behind my decision to give excellent customer service first, and then everything else will follow. So with that being said, terminating employees is a very, very difficult task. However, doing it quickly before damage can occur is imperative. You need to really do it quickly. If you see that there's a problem and you guys can't get on pace, follow your state's guidelines. So again, if you know that this driver, as soon as you get them, they're kicking their feet up at Starbucks and their cellular data is off, so you can't track their phone calls, or you can't track where they're actually at, and it's not showing up the breadcrumbs, then I would suggest that, you start doing interventions. First off, do the verbal warning, and then after the verbal warning, go ahead and get that written warning in and do what your state requires to protect your business. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please, please, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you like my content. If there's anything you want to know about, please go ahead and email me at jnlsmedical@gmail.com. I'll leave it down in the description box. Also, you can also go visit me on Facebook at JNL's Medical Transport. Also on Instagram. So I'm new to all of this, so it is. I hope you guys get some information that is useful to you and beneficial to you. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Much love.